iPhone 17 Pro Max in Cosmic Orange versus the iPhone 13 Pro Max Graphite speed test. Let's go ahead and find out how much of a difference we get in the performance here now that we're going to be doing several years of an upgrade over the 13 Pro Max. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and we've done the iPhone 16 Pro Max, 15 Pro Max, 14 Pro Max, and here we are with the 13 Pro Max. Let's go ahead and begin with the boot up test in 3, 2, go and see which one can get there first. Now, the iPhone 13 Pro Max has been out all the way since 2021, so this is a 4-year upgrade. And a lot of people call the 13 Pro Max legendary, iconic, one of the best Max iPhones to ever exist. I have to agree with you there. Even in some ways, it still feels nicer to hold. Looks more premium than the iPhone 17 Pro Max. And for some reason, I'm not going to say it's just this phone, but most of the older iPhones in my speed tests have been booting up first over these new 17s. I don't know what that is, but they have. So these 13 Pro Max actually turned on faster than the 17 Pro Max, but you can see the clear difference with the notch, dynamic island, huge display upgrades, thick bezels here comparatively to the 17 Pro Max on the 13 Pro Max. But yeah, we're gonna give that first one to the 13 Pro Max. All right, guys, so we have arrived at the biometrics test here. We're gonna be looking at Face ID, and you can see both of them do tend to have almost the same exact, actually the same exact unlocking speed. When you go ahead and unlock and go in, you could see, even because the 13 Pro Max was the first Max with ProMotion, the actual animations when doing the unlock is about the same. You can even see the way they fly in. There's no substantial difference. So that's pretty nice to say that your 13 Pro Max still performs about the same when it comes to that. Now, generally kind of scrolling through iOS, the 17 Pro Max definitely very smooth. However, there are a couple of animation weird things that are happening for me, like they just don't look always 100%. So I am waiting for a dot release. Like right there, it looks a little like, I don't know, it looks like it's blinking or something right there. But some apps don't always close in and out as smooth as I would like. So we do need to see some optimization, some dot releases, but generally just kind of navigating iOS here for the iPhone 17 Pro Max has been pretty nice. Now over here, the iPhone 13 Pro Max with the official version of iOS 26, you see when I swiped over the app library, it looked a little choppy there on that first one. The older iPhones don't seem to be running it quite as smooth as the newer ones. That's pretty par for the course though. Again, they will get better with more dot releases, but generally they both tend to perform kind of similar on the home screen. So if you are just downloading iOS 26 for your 13 Pro Max, you're going to feel like you're using one of the more modern iPhones already, even though your phone's 4 years old. So you don't have to go to the 17 Pro Max to get this modern experience. But you definitely are still behind in hardware and stuff like that, but not when it comes to software. They're mostly identical. Now let's take a look before we get into the app test, the differences in the clock speeds here. We do have the Apple A19 Pro chip clocked in at 4.25 gigahertz, and that's 12 gigabytes of RAM. Now that's a big change over the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which has the A15 Bionic. So you're 4 CPUs behind here, and you're a whole gigahertz behind on the clock speed, as well as double less RAM. So multitasking, and when you push the phone, play some games for extended sessions, the 13 Pro Max will definitely show its age by comparison to the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and it doesn't have enough power to support the Apple Intelligence at this point. So this phone is starting to show its age, even if it was a very legendary phone. But let's see if that age makes a difference in daily app use. We'll do app speed now. Let's go. All right, guys, so everything is closed out for both phones. Let's go ahead in the calendar, and you can see it looked choppier on the iPhone 13 Pro Max, but overall it wasn't horrible. Both of them did launch similarly. Let's go into clock. That one was exactly the same. Navigating the liquid glass UI, you can see looks about the same. We're not going to see any differences there. And so for your daily tasking, 13 Pro Max still performs superb. We'll go into calculator a little bit faster on the 16 Pro Max. App Store, that launched first there on the left. I don't know what that was. We were in a different section. Let's do that again. Let's go into App Store. No, that was actually first on the left. So not the iPhone 13 Pro Max. And one more time for good measure. You could see, yep, faster on the left. Going into games, faster on the left. Going into apps, faster on the left. And taking a little bit longer to pop things up there on the 13 Pro Max. So ChatGPT, faster on the left by a good margin. As you start to generate text and do that regularly, I do think that the iPhone 13 Pro Max will be even more behind. So AI stuff, you definitely want to upgrade if you're using this stuff a lot. While these are just using internet servers for these chat bots, still, when generating text, the phone can warm up if you're doing a lot of it. Let's go over to Copilot. And if you're doing on-device AI, you can't even do that for the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Let's go into YouTube. And if we go over here, we'll go into movies and TV. And we'll talk about free with ads. So you can see even YouTube content seems to load up first there on the 13 Pro Max. We got a little bit hung up there on the 13 Pro Max over here. So let's go over here. I think I said that loads first on the 13 Pro Max. I meant to say it's not loading on the 13 Pro Max. So we'll give that one to the 17 Pro Max. Let's go into X here. And you can see X first on the left and then the right. We'll go to profile. I was about to say that I clicked that, but it just hung a little bit there on the right. Let's go into Instagram. And you can see faster on the left, not by a substantial margin. We'll take a look at my pumpkin post of the iPhone 17 Pro Max. When zooming in, pinching in, writing comments, once you're in the application, see the 13 Pro Max is still fine. You're not really, it was a premium phone, so you're not like, it's nowhere near a level of like, can't use it. No, not even close. It's just if you want the modern features, there has been a lot of upgrades. However, I think it's actually a step back in material choice because we are using aluminum versus stainless steel here on the right. I don't think I clicked play on there, so now I got to click it and reload it. We'll launch these again. I wasn't looking at the phones when I clicked those. Let's do that again. Dead trigger 2. I still think it's going to be the 17 Pro Max. And yes, it is. So it's the 17 Pro Max. Let's go into Subway Surfers. And boom, the 17 Pro Max loads that first. Again, once you're in, these second or two probably doesn't matter to you too much, but it does add up when you are flying through your day, popping apps open, scheduling something, opening up maps, opening up a game. You know, you're on the move in this fast-paced world we live in. Those extra seconds just make the experience smoother. Just makes your day-to-day life a little bit more efficient. Keeps things kind of like rolling without having some delays or anything like that. You could see Destiny Rising was substantially faster to load than the 13 Pro Max. And so you can definitely see that upgrade on a 4-year difference, way more than you could see it on like a year or two. So I think the 13 Pro Max users and before, this is your year, you know, to start considering upgrading. If the 17 Pro Max doesn't do it for you design-wise, you can still go another year. You got 26. It seems to be running okay for daily use. Just realize that you are not on the fastest phone anymore. Obviously, you don't have Apple Intelligence support. And 26 doesn't run quite as good on these older iPhones, in my honest opinion so far, from what I'm seeing. But they still get the job done. So it's not the end of the road for you yet. You probably have 2-3 more years if you really want to push that 13 Pro Max to its life. Some people would say I'll go 10 years, but I mean, do you really want to be using it that long? And Free Fire did actually win on the 17 Pro Max. It just went in first. It was logged in on the 13 Pro Max previously, so it went in there first. Let's go into Call of Duty on both and see which one can get there first. Because when I test these phones, because they're kind of like on the same account prior to the upload, if I was like logged in on one or the other first, it'll just go to that one. But you'll see by which one gets there first by kind of like the loading. So this one was loaded first, but this guy was probably logged in recently. So this actually turned on first, but I probably was testing this beforehand. So Yeah, that one goes to the 17 Pro Max. We'll go to PUBG Mobile. I think it's the same thing here. Some of the games don't do that. They don't kick you out if you're on another phone. Let's see right here, PUBG. I know you could say, well, just put 2 different accounts. Well, I'm not going to do all that, you know, which that's like extra just for no reason. We'll go over here, and it looks like the iPhone 17 Pro Max took that one. So I do think as you start to get into, you know, the more graphically demanding games, just like I've said with some of the other speed tests I've done, it's the same old story here. We're going to 3D Mark. But I feel like with the 13 Pro Max, you know, you are not only getting performance upgrades, you're getting thermal upgrades, you're getting, you know, a bigger screen, much better cameras on every single lens. Same type of iconic like battery life of the 13 Pro Max is now again here on the 17 Pro Max. So this is a true upgrade, I think, for people from this phone. The only thing that I would say is potentially not an upgrade for you is if you really love the stainless steel design and you don't like aluminum. But that's like really nitpicky if you're putting like a case on your phone, or you just you don't. That's like a detail I don't think is the end all be all for a lot of people. But if it is, if that material choice is, that would be, I would say, the only thing I don't love so much about the 17 Pro Max. But you could see right there that after the app test, the iPhone 17 Pro Max won a large majority of them, and it was pretty obvious, I think, in that test right there, which one's quicker. All right, so let's go and take a look at the RAM management. We are rocking out with 12 gigabytes of RAM. That does give this a unique advantage in that, you know, you're going to be able to keep the phone humming along, keeping things open, and hopping between applications is going to be a breeze for the 17 Pro Max. The problem, though, is that Apple has all this RAM, but still does not give me a split screen dedicated mode. Now, if they're just waiting to promote that for the iPhone folding device they might be launching, I mean, I get that point, but still, like, come on, like this is ridiculous. 6.9 inch screen, and I got to stay on one application at a time. I have to pick up my Samsung multiple times a week just to go ahead and do some split screen action on the go. So I'm not a fan of this giving us this much RAM but not allowing us a split screen. That's my only gripe here, and that goes with pretty much all the iPhones. But you've seen that RAM does at least allow that thing to stay a powerhouse through different applications. Let me know your thoughts on split screen. You think I'm like, you don't really care, or do you want that too? But you could see, even though the 6 gigabytes of RAM is a bit older, because iOS is pretty optimized, the 13 Pro Max is having not substantial issues. However, once we hit RTS, we had an issue. Subway Surfer is starting to reload, and it is shutting down the games in the back. So it could be due to the game mode, but I noticed they weren't really shut down on the iPhone 17 Pro Max. YouTube never really loaded great from the start. Grok is there, Gemini is there, ChatGPT is there, and App Store with a refresh. We'll go over here to calculator, clock, and calendar. But you can see day to day, I feel like this is not going to slow anybody down, really. This is still a powerhouse phone here. It was when it came out, and it can still do the majority of what you need to do on a day-to-day for iPhone use. So I'm still happy that the iPhone 13 Pro Max performs that well. But it's just no match for the iPhone 17 Pro Max. It's just not. So we'll have to give that one on the RAM. And so here are their Geekbench results. You do get 3738 on the single core, 9370 on iOS 26. You'll get 2349 on the iPhone 13 Pro Max, and you'll get, this is going to be 5715 on the multi. So you're looking at about almost 2,000 points more on the single core, but about 4,000 points more on the multi-core. So it is a substantial boost in both departments for the iPhone 17 Pro Max. And when you look at the 13 Pro Max by comparison, what stands out to me the most is the display is not as bright. The notch just looks really dated right now, and the bezels look kind of thick by comparisons. So you can definitely tell that that phone on the right is the older device. It's pretty apparent. So yeah, that's just the only thing I noticed. But those scores are not bad. Even still, when it comes to speed on the 13 Pro Max, those scores are still relatively powerful for just regular day-to-day iPhone use. And here in Wildlife Extreme, you could say we can get about a 5737 here and a 34.4 FPS. Now, I can get around better than 95% of devices out there. And then you could see right here on the iPhone 13 Pro Max, 2181, 13.1. This phone can score better than 12% of devices out there versus other 13 Pro Maxes, but overall, compared to the market, 39%. So around 60 or so percent of devices are better out there. Also, I want to test before we leave a quick speed test. Let's go ahead and kind of see if we do get the same type of performance here when it comes to the network, because the network performance is said to be better on the newer device. And I've been seeing that quite a bit here on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, pulling in near 400 even on a Sunday when most people are probably using internet. So let's go and see what happens here. Pulling in around 34. I've noticed uploads and downloads have been really good on the 17 Pro Max. Much better than years past, so very happy there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the iPhone 13 Pro Max and see what it can pull in. So downloads about 170. So you see it's not pulling in even close to the iPhone, and this is on the same servers. So the network performance is stronger, period, on the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Like, you'll get faster Wi-Fi, faster 5G. Of course, it is carrier dependent, but if you have a solid carrier, you have solid Wi-Fi in your house, you're going to pull in more reliable and stronger performance on the 17 Pro Max, substantially stronger. So that is very important for connectivity, even though it doesn't seem like it matters too much. But when you are out and about, you're going to find more issues connecting and stuff like that versus the 17 Pro Max. This is going to do a lot better in that department. That is a pretty huge difference. And before we get up out of here, let's go ahead and do a quick camera test. We're going to launch the cameras, see how fast they launch. Here is your iPhone 17 Pro. Let's go ahead and silver. Let's go ahead and back it out. And we're going to go ahead and launch the cameras on both phones in 3, 2, go, and see what happens. And it looked like they were pretty... Was that the 17 Pro Max? Let me try that again. 3, 2, go. Yep, that was the 17 Pro Max. But here's another upgrade, 3X. I did love the iPhone 13 Pro Max camera when it came out. It's still a really good camera for casual use, even some pro type use. It was a pro phone after all. But you can see 4X, 8X, 40 times zoom. Like this iPhone 17 Pro Max is like a Samsung Ultra now when it comes to like the type of zooming you can do. It's like an older Samsung like Ultra phone. Well, some people are going to say, no, they've had 100X for a long time. But you know what I'm saying. Like, it can zoom more like a Samsung phone now with the length, but also give you really great raw videos, can give you amazing quality. And then on the front camera, you will get that center stage upgrade. You can even do it on the video as well. So that ultra wide on the front, pretty cool for vlogging or group videos, group photos. It's going to be amazing. So let's give our final verdict here. We have the final verdict in, and the verdict is, yes, you probably would have already guessed the 17 Pro Max before even clicking the video, but you wanted to know how much. And I think it's pretty substantial. It's pretty noticeable. And not only in app launches, reloads, it's also network performance stronger. And of course, you won't see it too much just swiping across iOS. They're both ProMotion. But when you start getting down to your day-to-day heavier use, I think power users will really benefit from going to a 17 Pro Max this year if you are in the market to upgrade. If you're not, 13 Pro Max will still easily ride out another year to the 18 series or the Fold if you want to wait for that. It's not like it's going to fall apart or stop working. Still works great, but it's just no match. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know your thoughts on which one you would pick to win down below in the comments section for the phone you like more. Even though we know which one's faster, doesn't mean you like it more. Let's hear what you got to say down below. Catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.